Okay, so we're going to start our tutorial on drawing and then painting this lilac bush. It's going to be in the impressionist style, so it's not going to be photorealistic, somewhere between impressionism and realism, somewhere there, kind of. So I'm just drawing using a watercolor pencil. Reason is that you can of course use any kind of graphite pencil to do your layout sketch, it's not a problem. But it's just that it might be, I might draw 3 sprigs for this one. It's just that with watercolor pencils, the graphite actually melts away as you start laying the paint because it's washable graphite, water soluble. Therefore, the underlying painting, much of it doesn't show. Having said that, you don't have to buy that specific thing at all. You can buy anything. I'm just drawing approximately for my own purposes, bit of a leaf and then the stalks. Don't need to draw the flowers per se, but I want to be able to have a rough idea of where I want to lay out the drawing or my paint. So I use these little paint tins. I'm going to use a blue and a pink mixed together. So this opera pink, bright pink, permanent, or not permanent rose, but opera pink, and a blue colored, a cobalt blue or an ultramarine to mix a brighter purple. You can also use ready-made purple paints, but I do have these colors and I don't feel like taking out my violet paint at the moment. So I'm just going to use these two to mix. And also because lilac is a more pinky purple, so it's prettier to have this mixed rather than go for a pre-mixed color. So I'm just mixing the blue, laying some blue on top. Now, although pink is a lighter color, opera pink itself is quite an intense dye. It's almost highlight green color, and it's also what's called a fugitive paint, which means that some opera pinks lighten if exposed to light. Some of them, the more modern ones, the new ones that I've got from Daniel Smith, don't. They're quite light fast. But as you mix the pink with the blue, it becomes increasingly purple. So here I am, I've just mixed the two to make this purple. So I've mixed my purple paint here. It's like a pinkish purple. And I'm now going to use the sap green for the leaves. So kind of like a darker olive green, because you'd never have really something very highlighted-y looking in nature. You would have something more muted. So it's a good idea to mute the sap green, or just use plain sap green like that from the tin. So with these stalks on the painting, see how the leaves and the stalk shapes are very simple shapes at the moment. So it's literally few curvy lines with a few leaves. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to remove these pencil lines with an eraser so that they don't show through, because this is going to be a fairly delicate drawing. So I'm going to remove these additional extra lines, so the impression will stay in the paper. I can still look if I'm painting and looking at it closely, but I'm removing all the additional lines so you can hardly see anything. And in addition, it's watercolor pencil, so we're just being doubly sure around here. So to begin with, I'm going to use an underlayer of just blue paint, plain blue paint, ultramarine blue, this blue. because the painting has this interesting, the lilac flowers are a bit bluish on the top and a little bit purpley pinky in the bottom, and really pink in the down right in the bottom. So we're going to follow that pattern, and the actual shape is cone shaped. So starting, and I'm using watercolor brush. This is a silver brush, silver black velvet brush number 4 round. It's got a good point and it holds a lot of paint. If you ever need to spend money in watercolor, I think it's nice to spend it on good quality brushes, good quality paper. Paints, you only actually need 3 really good quality, 6 really good quality ones, but the rest you can just buy ready-made ones, and you can paint, you can compromise. But so I'm doing an underlayer here actually of blue, right? So what will happen is, after we lay the purple and the pink and everything on top, this layer will show through in places, in spots. So one trick with watercolor, if you don't want to muddy, if you don't want to have muted, dull looking colors that run into each other, is to leave them to dry. If you want to add color when it's still wet, you should add it when it's still got a bit of sheen to it, like so. I'm hoping that, you know, like so. This is, at the moment it's kind of even denim blue looking, the paint, but not to worry, we will add purple and pink on top to make it. And I'm making it like a very rough cone shape. You can use the same skill to paint Christmas trees, or, you know, big long gum tree if you use different colored paints. So I'm going to just do something like that, not be worried about it. The next we want to layer is the purple. Now, a lilac is primarily purple. Then you might want to ask, why is it that we don't just use the purple and be done with it, or use more of purple? We could, but I just find it'll have much more depth and much more interest, because the light, when it hits an object, diffracts in different levels, and therefore different kinds of colors shine through in a solid object. So having different colors is a much more successful strategy. And also colors are pretty and they're nice to play with. So that's one. I'm going to sort of leave it there. And then do a bit more purple. See, I literally used a drop each of the purple and the pink, and I still have paint to complete one more painting. So don't be worried about buying paints or buying things about the waste, because it does really pay forward, especially in terms of you're painting for yourself as therapy, as stress busting. If you're painting to give to friends, it's a very good gift, something from the heart. Or even in today's times, Zoom background for yourself. Okay, now I'm going to So here it is. Now the bottom here still has, the paper has some sheen in it. So when I add my purple paint, it's going to merge into the blue, but still hold on to its own life and character, so to speak. Okay. Now, the lilacs in close-up are 4-petal flowers. So I'm going to draw a few as actual blooms, because the eye can actually rest upon a few full-formed actual flowers. So I'm just drawing a few little 4 petals, like so. This is layer 2. So I've got the blue underneath and the purple on top. It's looking a bit dark, so, and it's intentional because the topmost layer we're going to play with pink. Normally in watercolor I would go from the light to the dark, but in this case I want the light, because it's opera pink, I want it to shine forth a little bit in the middle of all these. So you can go either way. So you can draw the pink first and then draw the blue to make a purple. That will also make a very good strategy, so to speak. But what I want to do here is draw a few pinks right in the middle. So I've imagined the pink purple flowers somewhere in the middle of the bunch, because that's what it looks like in nature too. The more riper ones, the ones that are about to fade, become a lighter pink. Then the buds and the blossoms are like a very dark purple. So the flowers are nearly done. Now if there is a fault that I have, a repeated fault, it's to fiddle with this thing. So I'm going to stop myself now. Okay. So while that dries, most important tool, a towel, good quality towel, microfiber or something, because the most common defect is using too much water or too much paint. Okay, so I'm using some burnt sienna for the stock. I'm going to, because it's a bit too yellow looking, I'm going to mute it. What does that mean? I'm going to make it a little bit less yellow looking. I'm going to add a bit of green, bit of burnt umber, make it darker basically. So I'm darkening it, maybe a bit of a, because I mean, no harm. I like the idea of having a bit of the purple throughout, because it adds a sense of cohesion to the painting. You don't need to, but I'm just doing it. I'm drawing the little stalks. The other advantage of having a really light painting is that as a painter, if you changed your mind and you don't want to, say for example, draw per the original drawing, I wanted my stalk a little bit further away, you can do that. So that's the stalks. I'm going to just draw a few leaves in sap green. So with leaves, what's called the push and lift technique. So going to try and push this leaf brush down and pull it out like that. So I'm going to try push the leaf down like that and pull it out like that. Okay. You don't need too many leaves to convey a sense of the flower. In fact, as an artist, if you choose to have the flowers to be the focus in your painting, then maybe keep the leaves to not that many. But having the contrast in the green leaf and the purple flowers helps make the flowers pop, that's all. A few more leaves. Okay. Continuing with our theme of having a bit of purple inside, I'm actually drawing a few dark purple. So when I want to draw something dark, it's not that necessary that I use the paint directly. It's the same mixed paint, but I'm going to take away most of the water from it, make it an almost dry brush. So I'm going to remove most of the paper, most of the paint, and make it really dry so that I can draw like a thin line. In the center line. And that's it. There's your lilac. I really feel like adding some pink splatters to it, or some purple splatters to it. Imagining a few leaves of the lilac, floating in the wind, so to speak. As they float down in the wind, so to create a splatter, load your brush and then splatter away, tap away with a pencil. As it dries on the paper, it will create a very beautiful splatter effect. And that's it. That makes a very pretty card to send to someone, or a gift. You can frame it inside a frame. It makes it really pretty when you frame it. Art should be framed. It looks bold and weird when you don't frame it, but when you put it inside a frame, it really, really does bring it out. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you.